Hello there, friends and listeners, listener friends and friendly listeners. It's time for another episode of K-Ben Talks in Your Ears, and today I have an interview with not one but two people, two lovely human beings, Dennis Russell and Laura Hemenway, who are musicians, a musical duo, if you will. I met them back when I was a community college student, and they were more on the teaching end of things. I didn't actually take any music classes when I was in college, but our worlds did overlap because I was in the theater. And they are just really wonderful, magical people who are currently doing this great weekly live show from their home over Facebook Live. So we had a chat about that. I wanted to really connect with them and talk to them about how it feels to be doing live performance over a digital space, and how does it compare to live performance to actual humans, and what's different, what's better, what's worse. We talk about that. We talk about other stuff as far as like teaching and instruction is concerned, when we're dealing with these virtual classroom or lessons. We kind of cover a lot, and it was so nice to see them. I'm going to include links to how you can find them and perhaps catch the Sunday morning live extravaganza with them. And also just a little bit of business, a reminder that if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube, you can also find other episodes on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Karyn Bensinger. I will include that link as well. And I hope you enjoy the conversation.
She put a penny on the railroad track.
Well, we got it.
This works.
We're good. Well, it's good to see your. I see your faces weekly, but still, it's good to see your faces.
Right. Yeah, we get to talk privately.
And it's very jolly.
I guess we're talking publicly, privately.
It's jolly to see your face as well, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited about this. I appreciate you two jumping on board with this. This has been a fun little series to do, kind of just checking in with people that I know anyway, but to talk a little bit about art and how the pandemic is or isn't affecting certain aspects of it. And for you two, you are the first performing artists that I've had on here. So I'm excited about kind of what we can talk about in that respect.
Yeah, we're glad to talk about it. We talked about it all since March 16th or something, whatever day it was, I had to stay home or started working from home, and we couldn't, gigs got canceled. So it's
right.
Interesting.
Crazy times.
Yeah. And that's kind of the big, you two have already established this this weekly live show that has been so fun to watch it grow from, I think, the first iteration of, it felt like you guys were kind of just like, let's do something. And it's become this tradition that's gone on for months now.
Yes, it's show 35.
Wow.
Show 35 will be this Sunday. And that's exactly what happened. We went, everybody, we just started seeing people go like, oh no, like even by like day 4, I think we started on March 18th or that week, somewhere around that date, whatever the Sunday was. And we just went, let's just do something, because we're not, for sure we're not doing anything for 6 weeks, at that time. And that was literally it. We just went, what's the best time? And we saw, friends of ours were doing Friday night, like the typical times that you would play. And we went, nobody can go to brunch. That was literally the idea. Like, nobody can go to brunch. What would we do on Sunday at 10? We'd be going to brunch, and everybody has to stay in. So let's just make it a breakfast show.
And then you remembered the old pancake breakfasts from as fundraisers that people used to do.
Yeah, remember how people used to do pancake breakfast fundraiser? And in fact, there's a movie called Danny Deck Chair where this guy comes up with his idea.
Have you seen that movie?
I haven't seen it, but I know the one you're talking about. And I'm going to put it on my list, actually.
So that was like this thing in that movie. So thought, well, let's just do this. We'll just do a pancake breakfast, and it'll be a thing, and it's turned into this. We've been doing it we just keep probably doing it for the rest of our lives, no matter what at this point.
But and it's so funny because really for probably 2 years before all of this started, we'd been kicking around the idea of doing a show on Facebook. As soon as they started, doing the live feature, we were kicking around this idea. Why don't we do a show? When would it be? Yeah, but then Sundays we usually go get a gig up in Paso, and our whole day would be taken up, and then we'd have to do it every week if we did it 1 week or 2 weeks, and so we were just like whining about it. And now it's like it's the most fun we have all week, or it's the most fun I have a week. I don't know. I don't want to speak
for you. I agree.
Yeah,
we look forward to it every Sunday.
That was a question that I had, which is because the live feed idea of a musical performance is not new. It's a pre-pandemic precedent that was already set, but I do feel like a lot of people finally did kind of get pushed over that little hurdle of, do I want to, do I not, do I want to put the time in? And so that's really interesting to hear, because this technology has existed for a while, but I think the idea of finally wanting to latch onto it and make it work, people are all over in different areas grabbing onto that. So to see something as simple as Facebook Live become this highlight of, my friends and everybody who tunes in to hear you guys, it's pretty cool. And I think the idea of the time slot based entertainment versus scrolling through Netflix for 45 minutes to an hour to find something, it's nice to have a marker on the week to say, this thing's happening, I'm going to be there. And it's a little bit of a lost idea. And I love that it's kind of coming back in this way.
All right. Well, they used to call it appointment television. Like you would always watch the X-Files, right? You would always go, I have to be home at Thursday at 8:00 to watch Cheers or whatever the show was, So it's that was kind of part of it too. We just knew, we just picked a time and went, well, we'll just keep doing this until the pandemic ends, but who knows what that'll be. And we'll just keep doing it probably after that too.
And the cool thing is, I mean, we might get a gig up at Cold Spring Tavern here in town or whatever, and we could never count on our friends having, taking the trip up the hill to do that. And now it's really pretty much the same 25 people every week, and that's the biggest audience that we've had,
right,
on a regular basis. And it's really nice to touch bases with people and be able to get their reactions in real time while we're playing, so that we can, Dennis being so improvisatory in his, he's just like so off the cuff, he can read something that somebody will mention, while he's singing, and then write an improvised line, while he's singing, in response to something somebody said. So it's really kind of exciting in that way, because there's this risk involved,
Well, and I think that's another question that I had in regard to this style of performance, because live performance, whether it's music or stage or stand-up, does require, or it's incredibly helpful when there is an audience to give you feedback. And so I know that for comedy, it's harder right now, because if you're just doing a live show and you're kind of talking at a Zoom recording, you're not necessarily getting the laughter back. But with music, it is that easier, because at least you can see what's coming in. Are the reaction emojis equivalent to audience response? Do you feel it's the same or different, or one and the other?
Yeah, Laura and I have talked about this, and we talked almost immediately realized that it's a different way of interacting with the audience, and I kind of like it. Of course, nothing beats playing to people in a room who are sitting right in front of you. But there are some interesting things with the Facebook Live, when you can. Now there is about a 10-second lag, so you have to get used to the lag. And I would think that would drive comedians crazy, because your punchline, and then you would, even if you taught your audience to give me a heart emoji if you're laughing, or laughter emoji, whatever. That's still not going to show up until like 10 seconds later. So it is really, that's kind of an interesting thing about audience response with some kind of live stream show. But the other interesting thing about it is you would never be able to know what somebody in the audience is saying, or if they wanted to talk to you during the show. Of course, they're not going to do it. And maybe they would if you're like, no, if it's a really intimate show, like a house concert or a small thing, and you got a lot of friends there, they might say something in between songs. But not like it is with, that's kind of the cool thing, is you got this stream of people chatting with each other, and sometimes chatting with you and throwing an emoji here and an emoji there. And it's to me, it's even more immediate. Like the applause thing, of course, in a live audience is immediate when you're done with something. But you have this conversation going on with the audience in a really unique way in a Facebook Live. So like Laura said, if I see something, like I haven't seen somebody, or I just, notice, oh, that guy is, from Ohio. I might throw a line about Ohio in the song, and I can react to it like that. We can really personalize it, where I don't know if you do that so much. Even if you're playing somewhere within a live audience, you really don't call out people you know.
Well, you did, but not
Right.
a whole lot of people.
Yeah, but
but like somebody would walk through the door and you'd put a line in the song for them while
right.
you're singing.
Yeah.
But so this is even more specific.
Yeah, you can do this more specifically. So, and the other interesting thing about it is we've played to people from all over the world on Facebook Live, and we wouldn't, if we were just doing a live show at a venue, we wouldn't be able to do that. And if we were doing a live show at a venue and even added streaming as a layer to it, of course, you're going to prioritize the people who are there. So it's just a really unique and interesting way of performing. I like it. I always prefer live people, but I really enjoy it, and I really think that we've been able to pivot and realize what the differences are between a live stream and a live performance, and we can't, we talk about it all the time, or we talked about it more, of course, when we were first several weeks we were doing this. But still, at times, we are still trying to analyze and even bring more every time we do this show.
And it's really interesting to see how other people that we like in our in our orbit are handling it too. Because like our friend Mike McNevin up in Niles, he's got how we have our leopard that we talk to, and we have Stryker, and then we have El Paso and Paris up here in the painting that we talk to, and Michael has the mannequin that he talks to, that he actually goes and he sings a bunch of songs, and then he goes and sits behind a desk like Johnny Carson kind of, or Letterman, with a microphone, and then he's got his mannequin sitting there kind of as his co-host, but of course she doesn't say anything, but he talks to her. So it's like turns into a bit, and or Dan Byrne has a made up producer too that he calls Larry, and anytime something technical goes wrong, he blames it on Larry, and then or he'll say, yeah, we really want to thank all the hardworking crew out there with the equipment trucks out there in the front, and he's so I think it's kind of fun because it is such a weird situation, just to turn it into almost you have to have a sense of humor. You can't go into it thinking this is going to be your usual show, because it's not going to be. And some friends of ours, I think, are a little, they're not happy about the situation. Well, who could be happy about the situation? Right. But they're having a really hard time with, as you say, the pivot.
Right.
Yeah, I think that adaptability is the key part of finding some success in this. For me, it was rolling back over to podcasting, which is something I was doing a couple years ago, and then it fell off with that same thing of like, I want to do it, but then if I do it, I have to do it every week, and then I have to edit it, then I have to post it, and I got to do this. And it was that same, like, I don't have the energy. But then it was like, well, I have nothing but time, and I like it. I love this. This is the first time I've done interviews of this style with this series I've been doing, and I've been enjoying that whole process with it. But it almost is like we're returning to this digital version of television and radio, which is
Exactly.
fascinating.
I agree.
Yeah, and with Laura, what you were describing with it's everyone's kind of doing their own little like a variety, not a variety show, but like, well, there's not a lot of variety, but it's a
Right.
your own, not your own, I want to call it a night show. That's a talk show, but like, yeah, like
Yeah.
an evening program. And it is interesting to see how the technology that I think we thought was going to take us so far away from something and disconnect us has actually reconnected everything. And then we're injecting it with these older ideas and concepts that we've kind of not completely tossed aside, but we're grabbing again. And I think it's really fun and a really cool process to see.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of tried to, you know, see how far we can stretch it. Like one episode, call them episode now. One episode, we said that we had a visitor and Dennis dressed up as somebody and came in a totally different outfit and sang a song as Cal Evans, the country western performer who was our friend. You know, it's like there's all, and you know, it would be really cool if we knew people that we knew were safe, that we could actually have them come in and do a couple songs with us. That'd be really cool. You know, I know that there's the divided screen thing over on Instagram, and I think they were even doing it on Facebook, where you could call somebody up and then the screen would be divided and they'd be on one side and you'd be on the other, and you could do sort of an interview, but we haven't attempted that.
Right.
Yeah, and even then you still have the possibility of delay, or
Right.
it's a little bit where that's something that has to catch up. That's something I think for, as I'm thinking about live performance, like for stage, I'd love to do some kind of theater, but it's like, well, everybody then has to have the same level of the same kind of signal and the same kind of at least similar technology. I think there's ways to do it, but I haven't quite pinpointed it yet. But I think all of this, I think there's going to be a new wave of independent live performance that's going to grow out of this. I think what you two are doing is a great snapshot of that. And you've gone from this almost seemingly spontaneous idea to like there's a theme now, there's a theme song, there's merchandise, there's this whole enterprise that's so
Right.
it's this little contained world that's really fun. And to see our friends from New York able to tune in and watch and do things, and I see their names pop up, and I'm like, this is the first time we've all interacted in this way in years.
Well, that's been the amazing thing, is just this community that's built around this show, that we never really thought of. I think we just thought we need to play. If you're a player, you play. How are we going to do it? And it's been amazing to see. This happens sometimes. We can, and we're watching it in real time along with everybody who's in that stream. Is just seeing somebody, of course, we see Heather and Crystal are from New York, and then we'll see several people, and then all of a sudden they're talking, and you go, wow, that's so cool, because those people haven't probably talked in a long time. We've seen
like Belinda and Heather and Crystal.
Right,
we're always
our
friends.
friend Belinda Pascal, who used to write for the Antelope Valley Press, but has been living in Ohio for probably 15, 20 years. And was tight with all these people. She's there every week. We've got, there's other people who are there every week. And we have, it's the interesting thing is almost like, what happens with social media is you wind up having these like clumps of people from various parts of your life show up. So there's people from Laura's high school showing up. There's people from my high school who show up. There's, there's people from these various segments and all coming together in this place to watch us play. And the merch thing is really funny. we
It's
had
really
been
a trip.
thinking,
I've never even met this woman.
yeah, there's a woman that I think was like in junior high with Laura for like 2 weeks or something.
She remembers me. I don't remember her.
And she's been watching every week
With her husband.
with her husband, and they make pancakes and they watch a show every Sunday. Her daughter has this online like merchandise thing, mainly based around writing and literature. And she had her daughter design these coffee mugs, and like the first time we saw them, she goes, "Hey, look on your porch," and there they were. And that's now kind of, actually, we were thinking we need a logo now because people are watching. We need this. And this woman who we've never met just designed the absolute perfect logo with like knowing nothing. So we're like, yeah. And then we said, hey, can you make t-shirts? And yeah, she's got their thing. She can do the t-shirts. So it's been, that was pretty fun. And then like the next 2 or 3 weeks when people started taking pictures and sending us pictures wearing the merch and then watching the show, eating pancakes and wearing the merch. Like, it's like, what?
We were like looking at each other like, what the hell? This is like the coolest thing ever.
Well, and doing music and performing, and you've been doing this for a very, very long time. And yet it's funny how this almost this happenstance in the world has shaped this environment for just this kind of stuff to happen and have these little delightful experiences that I don't know would have been fostered or cultivated in a framework outside of it. And I think I'm trying to put a really positive frame around this weird time, but that's so exciting to see that, here's this woman so excited by what you're doing to make these things and
blew me away.
Right.
And that it was this digital connectivity that kind of brought it all together. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's the most positive. Like, this is the great thing. This is like the most positive thing of social media. This is like when the people who don't think of the bad stuff when they were designing it and thought the good stuff, this is what that is. And, unfortunately, there's all this other stuff that we're dealing with as a larger society because of social media and the dark side of that. But the positive side is we have people, every Sunday at 10 o'clock, from 10 to 11, we'll have people from all over the world watch us eat pancakes and play songs. So.
And just from a creative standpoint too, you're sitting there talking to somebody, in response to something that they've typed, and then a song will come out of it. And you've probably written 5 or 6, maybe. Yeah,
I think we did an episode where, I'll just like improvise. Actually, our theme song, it came from just we needed to fill time, like, because what we have to do, I'm sure there's more elegant ways of doing this, but I set up the live feed on Facebook, and then Laura sets up that. We're doing that. We are using the simplest technology, by the way. I've got an iPad. Is all the audio and video is an iPad 4 feet away from the couch, but then it's too far away to be able to see this stream. So Laura's, is looking at the stream on her iPad that's closer to us. So she has to log on. She has to kind of, log on to the watch party, whatever it is that we're watching, to see the comments come in. So there's a little time lag getting that ready, a couple minutes. And so one of the first, I think it was the very first show, I just started doing, where's the coffee? Where's the coffee?
I remember that.
Because I couldn't find my coffee, actually. That was like a real thing that happened. And now it became the theme song, this thing. We did an episode where we did like 4 or 5 other songs where I maybe made up a verse and a chorus on the spot, and then actually sat and finished them, and we did them on the show.
Well, like that one day that Heather said, I love my TV.
Right. So I have a song called I Love My TV, Now Turn Me On, because Heather said something about she loves her TV. And
yeah, it's so in a creative way, it's really been rich as well.
Yeah.
Because then, if he starts a song, then he wants to finish it, so he finishes it.
Do you, when you're preparing for your show, are you do you have any kind of a set list for what you plan to do? Is it all just kind of improvised? Do you?
Right. Yeah, actually, the first show I think was pretty much off the cuff, and maybe the second.
You're kind of famous for not having a
Right.
set list, but you've really gotten pretty
Right.
disciplined.
Laura loves the set list, and I don't. I don't care. So, so for her, we started writing. I just put down for time for an hour is usually 8 songs if we're gabbing in between and songs and stuff. And so I make an 8-song set list to start. And then oftentimes, but if you watch often enough, you will probably see somebody will show up in the feed, and like our friend Mike McNiven every once in a while shows up, and he's wrote one of the greatest songs ever. So which I learned. And so when he pops up, I might pivot and take his song and throw it in there. Or if somebody that I just randomly shows up out of the blue that we haven't seen in a long time, but maybe I have a song associated with them in some way, we'll throw something in there. So there can be a lot of spontaneity, and we really don't have any banter planned between the songs.
And we certainly don't rehearse.
Yeah, we
probably
we're
should.
so busy. I'm so busy during the week because I'm still got a day job that's 40 hours plus. So we're never quarantined. I like literally was doing what I was doing at the office one day and went home and was doing it at home the next day. So we might, if there's something we haven't done in a long time, but we've played almost all these songs. We're really fortunate because
yes,
Laura and I get to collaborate musically, and we know a lot of people who don't have that partner that they're sequestered with to work with. So and
You're not stuck with a mannequin.
Right. Right. And the other thing is that, Laura knows what I'm going to do. She's a perfect side person. Given that if I do something, or even if I write a song that morning and say, hey, we're going to do this, and I at least write out the chords, she knows what to back up on accordion if she hears like a verse and a chorus of it. So we don't have to rehearse a lot. We probably should rehearse more. We'd be a little bit more polished probably, but as far as the songs, but I think some of the charm of the whole show is it seems like we're inviting you, and we're inviting you into our living room for breakfast, and we're just playing songs and having fun,
Yeah, and I think that's really the heart of it is I like the spontaneous nature of it, and that it does feel like we're there in your home with you watching this living room show. And I think that's part of what makes it not feel so distanced, even though it's through the screen. I think that the fact that it is waiting for the pancakes and waiting for the coffee and seeing seeing a name on the screen and then responding to them, and that's what is so wonderful about it. And what I think is unique, based on some of the other stuff I've seen people doing, the ingredients and elements of what you two have put together has just, I think, shaped so beautifully. And there is that thing that I feel like I'm missing out on, not being able to go to live shows or live performances, that is coming through in this morning show.
Very
Awesome.
cool. Thank you very much.
That's such a great
because
compliment.
that's our goal.
Yeah, totally is.
Well, we actually, at the beginning of the, back in March, we also were doing a Thursday night. We knew that this was really casual, our Sunday morning show, but we still wanted to do something that was a little more quote unquote concert-like. So we were doing these tribute concerts, and we would just pick an artist every week. I don't know if you ever saw any of those, but and then we would actually, we would dress nicer, and we would stand up.
I would play keyboard.
And we would really approach that. We would react to people on screen, but in a lesser degree than we do on the Sunday show. So we were trying to reach a balance with that, and we really liked doing it. But it was just with it was a lot of material to learn. We actually were going to only do it with like 4 or 5 songs. We'll just learn 4 or 5 songs of Guy Clark, or we'll learn 4 or 5 songs by Bob Dylan. But every time we did it, we go like, oh, we can't just do 4 or 5 songs. Then it wound up being, we'd play for an hour and a half, and it would be 12 songs every show. So it was a lot to learn and try and keep up with. So we kind of dropped that. We got a couple things we might do as like sort of birthday tribute shows to some artists that we like. But we were trying to do, a little bit of both of those things, having something that was more like if you went to a club and saw us play, or if you went to a concert and saw us play, you would see what we were doing on Thursday nights. Sunday was just what we're going to do at home.
Well, it's very effective, and I really love it. And I mean, the people have spoken. They keep showing up every week. I think that's the big indicator of success in.
We feel real lucky. That's for sure, that everything all fell together. And in fact, sometimes I feel a little bit guilty, because I know, there are people out there that are, people that I play with in the community orchestra here in town. There's 60 of us. And that was their big deal every week, was to go to rehearsal. That was their social thing. And we just don't have that, And so, and Dennis and I are both, as I think maybe we've discussed before, we're both such introverts that this situation for us has kind of been, gosh, I feel guilty, but this is really fun and I really dig this.
Right.
The
whole quarantine has been great for us. I was going to ask you that, because I think you probably identify introvert. I think a lot of artists do, is to, how has this been working for you too? Because we're like, for us, this has almost been a perfect scenario.
Yeah.
This is what we would do anyway. Like,
right. That's Scout and I are we are very good at home, alone together kind of people. We both do our own thing. We've been working on just some stuff ourselves where we're writing something, and we're co-writing. It's that same thing of when you're co-creating with somebody and you're quarantined together, it's actually, and you have the right personality type, it works really well, because if we're writing something and then we can talk about, like, we're at home all the time, we can talk about story, we can talk about things, I can go write something and then hand it off to her, and she can write a little, like, so that creative relationship is thriving right now. And it's the same kind of thing that, like, I love this.
Right.
I do prefer to, if I have to go to the store and not be living in terror that someone's going to cough on me. But
exactly.
As far as when I'm watching other people who are really, really itching to, like, go out to eat at a restaurant or all these things, and I'm like, yeah, it's nice, but, like, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'll make a pizza in the oven, or I'll order one and have one brought in. But I'm not suffering in the way that other people seem to really be struggling with some of the aspects of this. And, and that's perhaps maybe a little bit of a superficial thing, but I do think that in relation to the rest of the world, my mental health is much more, it's much better than it maybe is at other times, because I'm not having to go out and interact in certain ways that are stressful to me.
Right.
And I can do the work I need to do from here. I can do my creative work from here. I do have to go out, and if I'm going to film something, and safely find another person to point the camera
Right.
at. But for the most part, yeah, I have an editing bay here. I have all the stuff I need to do to write and to work and to cut my footage together. So I'm very happy in this space, and I'm hoping that as we move forward and out of this, that the understanding and idea of some of this at home work and the ability, like this technology, like Zoom and the different things, with everybody learning how it works and learning how to operate some of this digital connection, that we'll be able to continue some of that instead of some of this seemingly arbitrary framework that is kind of just dated old ways to do things, that maybe we can adjust and change, and then we can all kind of flourish. And those of us who work better at home can work at home, and those of us who work better in an office can go to an office. And
right.
That's a dream, I guess.
Well, it's been really interesting for me teaching piano, because, I had, when the whole thing came down, I had 7 piano students. Yeah, 7 piano students. 3 of them quit right away because they just couldn't imagine doing FaceTime lessons, because I thought I'd give it a try.
Right.
And they just didn't want to even go there. But then I had this brother-sister team. They're like the first ones to try the FaceTime, and they love it. They totally love it. And it's totally different teaching wise. But once I got used to it, I kind of like it too. And they liked it so much that their parents said, "What, we want them to have lessons twice a week." So it's like, because of that, financially, it turned out to be a wash for me. And it's real, and it's interesting because they're the kinds of kids, the ones that stuck with it are the kinds of kids that are more listeners rather than visual. They're more oral rather than visual. Mm-hmm. And so they are thriving in that kind of environment. They don't really care that much about having the physical demonstration of something. If they listen to a rhythm as I demonstrate it, then they're like, "Oh, okay, I'm all over that." And they seem to do better without the distraction of, having to come to my house, walk in, be distracted by all the exciting stuff that's going on in the studio. And so that's been a really interesting wrinkle as well, the teaching aspect.
Yeah, you can still correct if you see them doing something physically, you can correct it. But as far as them learning, it's been really interesting because I get to see her teaching occasionally, and so there's a kid who's been learning like Beethoven sonatas on over FaceTime, and he's like killing it.
Wow.
And you wonder if and I think this is maybe something that if you are looking at the little screen, maybe you don't have as much distractions if you're in your own house as well. You don't have those distractions that, like Laura said, coming into our house, there might be a different guitar sitting out there, or a different instrument altogether sitting in the music room that would distract somebody. Whereas in this way, I think people who have a little ADD or something can be a little more focused. I think you have another student who seemed to always be really distracted and unfocused when he was here, who is really doing well on the FaceTime lessons too. So I think that is an acknowledgement of and we talk to teachers. We have a kindergarten teacher up the street that we talk to from time to time, and she's totally a hands-on. She wants all those kids around her. Of course, she doesn't want them if anybody would get sick. So, but I think you can tell that this, like the FaceTime is not really, or the, Zoom school is, she's really not into it. But she did talk to us and she says, I've noticed that the students who were always quiet before and never really spoke out have these little one-on-one sessions with me, and I can't get them to be quiet. So
that's
those
me.
people, those kids, I was a kid like that too. I never said anything. I think they thought I couldn't talk, when I was a kid. But then they, when this, but now they don't have all of that social stuff. I don't know if that's even social, but you're just not around this enormous amount of energy. It's like an amount of energy that you can handle and not be exhausted by trying to fend off in a big group of people. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit like it might be a little social anxiety kind of a thing. I think I would have thrived with the Zoom school, just the way I know I do things. I was thinking about when I took piano lessons as a younger person, it's a shorter, smaller person. And I'm trying to think how that would have changed doing it over the internet like this. And I think what, for me, a factor might have been, it's not as intimidating because the person isn't there watching what you're doing. And so it's maybe a little easier to get to, I don't know. But I also was pretty comfortable with my piano teacher after I warmed up. So, because I was a very shy kid, but then once I got to know you, I wouldn't shut up. I wouldn't stop talking. So I think that might be another thing too, is there's less someone, over your shoulder watching as you're playing. But I am one of those students too. I think I hear it more. I'm not watching my hands as I'm playing. I'm hearing what the rhythm is and then understanding. And I used to get in trouble for that because my teacher would know I wasn't reading the music. I was
Yep.
playing it by what I heard.
Yep. Yep. And that is a real challenge for me, is because these are the students that have, you know, and it was my problem too as a student, because I have a really perceptive ear or whatever, and you know, I'm led more by what I hear than what's on the page. So it took me a long time to integrate that and be able to sight read. But anyway, yeah, just interesting things, interesting aspects of all of this.
Is there anything specific about the way you've had to change the way you teach for the digital structure?
Yeah, I think the most difficult thing is one of my biggest teaching strategies was, okay, learn the left hand for these 5 measures. They learn the left hand for those 5 measures. And then I would play with them. I would play the right hand so they would hear what it sounded like without having the responsibility of playing it themselves. And I can't do that now because of the time lag. And then also I like to sing with a couple of my students who like to sing. I would have them sing a melody, and then, you know, I could sing along with them something, and we can't do that anymore. So so the time lag is probably the biggest impediment to all of this for me. And I don't know that I can quantify it, but I find that I'm pretty tired, much more tired after teaching as one of these lessons than I would have been.
That's interesting.
When we're together, and I have no idea why, but I know that there are some teachers that experience the same thing. I'm taking a painting class online from a woman who's like very, very into sharing her feelings, you know, and she told the class that she couldn't possibly go. The class is supposed to go 2.5 hours. She couldn't possibly go longer than an hour and a half because she would get, what did she call it, Zoom exhaustion. And so, you know, she would stay. She basically then she'll give us the lecture content and a demo, you know, part of the class, and then she signs off, and then we have lab time on our own, which is fine with me. But you know, so there are other people that feel it too, I guess, the exhaustion part of it, and I don't know why that is.
I wonder if I guess it depends on who you are, but I wonder if in some cases if it's the idea of being on camera and people aren't comfortable seeing themselves, or because I do know some teachers who did have that issue, that they don't want to have to look at themselves while they're teaching, because then that's already then they're thinking about that. How do I look? I don't want to look weird, and then someone's going to screen capture it and then post it as a meme or something. I don't know. But
right. Well, there for a while, I know that they were required to tape each session, to video each session.
Hey, listen, I'm into tape.
Record the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, they were required to record the Zoom meeting, kind of like one of those legal kinds of things, so that if a teacher said something inappropriate, then they could, and the student complained about it, then, you know, they could go back and point to, you know, was your behavior inappropriate? You know, was your language inappropriate? And some teachers were really stressed about that. I have two teachers that I work with regularly at City College, and they were stressed about it. But then they took that, after about 4 or 5 weeks, they took that out of the mix. So I don't know why they did that, but anyway.
Well, I'm checking my list, my very long list of 4 questions, making sure I got everything. Like I said, you two are the first live performers, so this was such a great and different conversation than everyone else I've talked to. For the most part, have been all different kinds of writers, so it's already kind of a solitary experience. And then I talked to Crystal, who's, you know, she does the effects makeup, so and she was already back to work on that. So this has been,
and she blew our minds by showing up on our doorstep in the middle of the show.
That was like the best thing ever.
Yeah, there's still room for 5 surprises.
Well, that's what's fun. You know, We actually were thinking of, having people come out and they could sit on the other side of the glass, but we just wouldn't know. Here's the one thing that I find really interesting about all this is when you do, like, let's say we're out shopping and when you see somebody that or we've had a couple of, social distancing dinners where somebody's come and we barbecued and everybody sat 6 feet apart, that it's so hard to, push down that impulse to give somebody a big hug. So we don't want to really, encourage anybody to do that, which is kind of sad in a way, but we had thought about making it like a special maybe we could just have it like one person could sit on the other side of the glass, have that be the live audience. We've had a couple surprises, Crystal, but having somebody from New York show up here in your Santa Barbara front yard, that was pretty wild. Our friend Eric surprised us one morning. He lives in Ventura, so there still can be some.
He just walked up the driveway and literally pulled up one of our Adirondack chairs and his coffee, and then just sat there, and we're just like going, what? Which kind of Crystal did the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
See, and I am jealous that I am not nearby enough to pop in and sit outside of your window. But if I feel like taking a drive, maybe I'll show up sometime.
Right. Yeah. So isn't that like, you don't even feel like I don't know how you are, but for us, we know people who have just, they got cabin fever and they had to go on a road trip, and they got, they had to go do this or that or the other thing. And we would like to do some traveling, but we are okay not even traveling. Or, we're okay. We've taken a couple of drives to Ventura
because we had to have Del Taco,
mainly to get Del Taco, because there's no Del Taco in Santa Barbara. And as if you ever do theater or any late night stuff in Lancaster, the only place that's open is Denny's or Del Taco. So we have a Del Taco addiction that needs to be fixed every once in a while.
Yeah, you got that. I have spent many a wait time in the drive-through line after hours, after a show, right. Or the Denny's. Yeah, in fact the Caro's has been reopened as an IHOP over here. And I went in there. This was last year, obviously, but they've kept. I mean, it's all redone inside, but the layout is still
the Caro's on Avenue K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that stained glass up at the top, it's still the same, like high ceiling. And I was in there and I was like, this is kind of a trip, because it was different, but it was still enough that I was like, I'm having some interesting nostalgic time travel vibes being in here. And it was kind of a cool throwback, because I was like, I can go sit in that corner over there and write my script ideas down in my notebook and stay too late, and I'll tip better than I did when I was in college, but
right.
What a trip.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. But yeah, there's those little staples of the stuff that just every once in a while I think you have to tap back in. And right now it's like, I don't know where to go for some of it.
Right.
But Del Taco is trusty. It's always there. So
exactly. Well, that's what we've learned. We used to eat, we used to eat at restaurants quite a bit. And that's one. So there, for us, but it's almost like we have like survivors, like it would be like survivor's guilt or something like that, because we used to eat in restaurants a lot. We've been making food at home all the time, so that's been like we're eating much healthier than we ever ate before.
Saving a ton of money.
My chicken parm game is like down right now. I got it. So those kinds of things that were probably not the healthiest things for us. Now we've had to be we're more disciplined about those things going forward. Definitely past whatever it is, the 29 days it takes to instill a habit, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Way past that point, of course. And it's kind of an interesting time, because we just our personalities, the whole situation, a lot of things have been helpful. In fact, I think you would probably feel this way too. You know, a lot of times people would go like, "Hey, you have to come to our thing," or you'd go to shows and things out of obligation, you know, and because you wanted to, but sometimes out of obligation when you really needed that time to kind of hide inside.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an introverted personality, or you want to go, "Oh, I'm on a roll writing. Oh, but now I have to go do this other thing." That now you get to do you get to do the writing. You don't you aren't getting pulled out to do all these other things like you would under quote unquote normal times.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I had to find that groove again because it took a little while when the first half of pandemic era of this year was tough. I just was so, I think universally everybody was kind of wiped out and a little bit a lot concerned about things, and then with the election looming and everything. But about midsummer, like July-ish is when I kind of got back on track and was like, I gotta put this energy into something and not just be sitting around and thinking about all the things I want to do. I need to actually throw something out there, put my energy into something. And that's when I started shooting my micro shorts and
Right.
working with some other people on some stuff. And it's been,
Now you were doing something with Justin Green, right?
yeah,
I saw some things.
he wrote a short and some stuff happened to where he needed to restart. He needed to start over. So he asked me to come on board and shoot it for him and help him out with that. And that's the first time I've shot for someone else. So it was really exciting because I have been, I've been writing for a long time, since I was, I think 18 or 19, I've been writing screenplays. And then I started directing about 12 years ago, but the cinematography aspect is something when I was writing, I was like, I'll never direct. And then I started directing and I was like, that's fine, but I don't need to learn about the camera stuff. I'll eventually be able to pay somebody to do that. No, I've had to shoot everything that I've done. So, this year is when I've really invested some time and energy into kind of learning what all that means, what it looks like, what the visual narrative means when you're doing certain things. And it's stuff that I knew. It's the same exact problem I had when I was learning piano. I wasn't reading the sheet music. I was hearing it and I was learning it that way. And that's how I am with most things, is I can learn it by the book if I have to, but I have to want to do it. And so I finally was at that point this year. And so I've been experimenting with some stuff, and I have some cool vintage lenses that I got adapters for my digital camera that I can pop them on and get some really cool looks and some stuff, which has been fun because I had my stepdad's old, I think Minolta film camera, and it had a couple of lenses on it. And I was like, well, I can spend hundreds of dollars on new lenses, or I can buy this little ring adapter and pop it on and see what that can do. And that's been really fun because it's just experimenting with all that stuff and having a good time.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So yeah, so
I love that we get to keep. I love that we get to keep up with what people are doing creatively and the process of it. I loved seeing the pictures that Justin was posting and kind of like figuring out what step they were, you were at in the process. And it's like sometimes people feel like they have to show you their finished product as singers or as painters or, with film. And I just love, that we know people that are willing to share their process with us. I think it's really exciting. I love that.
And his was such a unique situation because it was him and his family. It was his kids, and which his oldest son is 16, I think, and I'm like,
dude.
Yeah,
oh
Jonathan
gosh.
is like 16 years old. So, but so his crew was, a pretty tight group, and one or two friends, but so it was nice to have like a safe, like a bubble of people that are safe together. We could go out, to the edge of town, shoot what we needed to do. And for me, it was kind of like jumping on Amazon and saying, okay, I need to get we had to get a car mount because there's a lot of car scenes, and finding like this, I think $65 suction cup car mount that has yielded beautiful results. And I watch, something I have seen from doing this as long as I have, just like the out of pocket filmmaking and watching someone young roll in and be like, I'm going to do this. But I need to have $20,000. And I was like, no, you don't. You need $20. Make it work. Here's $20. Make it work. And having to be innovative and figure out solutions. And so it was pretty cool because, I bought a couple of different things just on the inexpensive end, and we really made it work to capture what he wanted. And the irony of it all is, in the time from starting that till now, even, I feel like if I went back in time to July, I could even do better because I've learned so much. Like, this has been such a steep learning curve on the technical end of things that I didn't expect. And it's been very exciting.
That's cool.
Well, that's the funny thing about the whole the thing about technology is, and just how amazing it is that you have this really great camera and a recording device in your pocket, just as it is with nothing else. Mm-hmm. Our first couple of episodes of our show, I went online and went, okay, we're going to do this show. And we were having some issues with the feed breaking down and stuff like that. And so I was like, I would get off work and just research for hours and hours and hours. Well, do this and do that and have you set your computer and blah, 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 blah. And then we just finally realized, well, our internet connection is too slow. And I got an iPad, and then we just set it up, and we upgraded our iPhones because I think we're still on like iPhone
7.
I think we were still on 6 or something.
That's right. We had 6.
So we upgraded our iPhones, and we were having way more problems when we tried to use all the tricky technology and using the external mic and the webcam and everything. That I got an iPad, a newer iPad, and we got new iPhones, and we just put those up, and that's what we use. Mm-hmm. But we have friends who are just like, are still, they're kind of catatonic because they think they need to get all this gear. And for us, it was just, let's just do it with whatever we have. And whatever we have is still going to be better than whatever we had 10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this room is
or even 3 or 4 years ago,
This room is full of different gadgets. But I mean, if you think about this guy, this is a standard VHS camera.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Versus right? Like this.
Right? No, totally.
But yeah, it's which I wish this thing worked. I would love to shoot some. This is the thing. The irony is I have all this technology, and all I want to do is play with the old stuff and see what results I can. This room is filled with like random. I got VHS tapes back here. I got this is my retro room, as I call it. But yeah, it is. And I used to do career day. I have a friend who teaches middle school, to talk to them about filmmaking. Just like, if you really want to be like, if you're going to be an independent, how fortunate he's like telling a bunch of 12-year-olds like how fortunate they are. They don't care, but telling them totally. they have an entire movie studio on their phone. You can film it. You can write it, film it, edit it, and release it. So you have every stage of production in your pocket. Right. And it took me some time, I think, even to catch up to that, because I feel like I am just I'm like a cusp. I'm a generation cusper. I'm like the tail end of Gen X, not quite a millennial. I'm like right at the very edge of that. So I'm about 5 years too old for the YouTube wave when people really started YouTubing.
Right.
Like around 2002, I was telling Adam Smith I wanted to do a web series, and he was like, "What the hell is that? Like, what is that?" And because we were trying to do some stuff at that time, but even then it was like, well, how do you produce it? What do you do? What's all this stuff? And then it was like seeing all this technology unroll in front of me, and I was like, well, how do I catch up to that train? Because that train like took off, and a bunch of people jumped on it, and it was seeing it all, and it was like, now it's overwhelming, because how the heck am I supposed to catch up to everything that I've got 15-year-olds who are producing full YouTube channels of content, who have a following and are doing all this. And what's happened now is everything is kind of looped all the way around, and we had a fall off of, I think, narrative interest with all of the, just with social media in general. And that's just kind of a superficial look at all this, but because of things like TikTok that are, people are now doing narrative stories, even if they are 9 seconds or 30 seconds long, they're making these little clever like punchline beginning, middle, and end short films basically. So there's this interesting resurgence of that. And I feel like I can maybe, like, the train is slowing down enough for me to kind of catch back up to this window. And I think we're going to see a big resurgence in maybe independent short film, which is exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, talking about generations, there's probably a bunch of that stuff going on that we just don't know about because the avenues of where it's consumed, we're on the outside of, you know.
Yeah, some of it I'll open. TikTok is one that I have the app. I have a couple people I like to follow to see what they do because they create fun stuff. But I looked at it and I was like, "Whoa, I don't get it. I don't know what this is." And I'm a tech person. I grew up with I think we got our first computer when I was 4, and it was like an Apple IIe,
Yeah.
5.5-inch floppy.
Yeah.
But so I've grown up with it all, and I'm now at the point where I'm like, I don't know what the heck you kids are doing. But the end result is something really, really fun, and I kind of want to learn. I want to learn it to know what's going on. I don't know if it's the platform for me or not, but it's been really fascinating to see where I think we kind of delved into an era of people wanting to just be famous for being known.
Right.
And we're shifting back into, and not that these people went away, not that it went away entirely, but I think the focus is back on people who can make you laugh or tell you a story or have a talent or can play music or, write a good song. And it's very encouraging. And I think everything, wrapping it back around to what you two are doing every week, is this new wave of independent, it's almost like independent television, but it's not on a network, it's just out there in the world.
Yeah, we'll like joke about how the network won't let us say this or that or the other, but
right,
that's what's so funny about it,
No, we're totally like Wayne's World. It's like,
yeah,
we're a married couple doing a folk version of Wayne's World, pretty much.
There is this really wonderful public access feeling to, like, all the best of public access feeling to some of this way that we can approach things, which is anybody can have access to it, to make it, but then it's up to you to make it something people actually want to jump on and watch versus watching it for 30 seconds and ducking out. I think your repeated viewership is a testament to how wonderful and refreshing your program, your morning program is to all of us. And I have very much appreciated the connection that it facilitates and fosters with everybody. And I love seeing all the familiar names roll by on the screen. And I think it's great. I really love it.
Thanks, Karyn.
Yeah.
Man, I'm getting all choked up.
It means a lot. It means a lot to both of us to hear that.
Yeah.
If people want to see anything from you, is there a place for them to go online? Or,
well, although I have never even posted this on the actual website, my actual website, which is DennisRussellRoad.com, which I maybe will do that right now.
Yeah, you probably should.
I just got billed by Wix or whoever it is. It's hosting it for a couple $100, so probably should do something with it. We do have a Facebook page called the Laura and Dennis Show.
No, called the Dennis and Laura.
The Dennis and Laura Show. Sorry, the Dennis and Laura Show. And do we actually link to that where the show is?
I don't think we do.
That's kind of underdeveloped right now, but so that's maybe another project for this evening.
Okay.
To do a little bit more of that. Put some more stuff up on that so that people can go check it out.
Basically, we make it available to everyone when we broadcast, but I don't know how people would
it's
find it unless they just go to your Dennis Russell page.
Right. Yeah, so
on Facebook.
on my personal, it kind of broadcasts off my personal page though, and then Laura usually links to it, that shares it or something while we're going live. And so if you were to look up Dennis Russell on YouTube, on Facebook, not YouTube, Facebook,
or Laura Hemenway,
or Laura Hemenway, you'd be
Right.
able to find it on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. I think that we're just like, we really should try and expand our audience, I suppose.
I suppose.
That's what most people would do who have a show. But I think we just, one of the things is I think we just are like, we can, we just don't remember to do that.
Well, because time goes by, and it is the only thing that we're doing
As far as performing music. Yeah.
Right. As far as performing music goes, it's fulfilling our creative outlet. And that's not quite true, because we do Bushwick Book Club once every couple of months.
Right. Yeah, we're members of a songwriting book club, so we all read the same book. It's about 10 of us, and then we all write songs inspired by our reading of the book. So we do that. That's another thing that we do a show about every 6 weeks or so.
And that's on Zoom.
We do a Zoom show with that.
But the way to find out what we're doing is basically on one of our Facebook pages.
Right.
You kind of have to be our Facebook friend to know what we're doing.
All right.
And yeah, we ought to do something about that.
Yeah.
Dennis.
So well, I'll tell you what, for anybody who's listening, look up the Dennis and Laura Show on Facebook, or look on DennisRussellRoad.com for more information about what we are up to.
I'll link to the DennisRussellRoad.com in the show notes so people can at
Cool.
least click on over
Thank you.
there, and then you can engineer the path how you would like people to find you.
And tonight I'll update that.
Okay.
It was I used to update it regularly, of course, when we were doing live shows. And then when we stopped doing live shows, I think I visited it and updated it maybe 3 times. So, because that was always my thing, is putting what was on the calendar. Now that we're maintaining our own calendar of performances, I just hadn't really thought about it. So, but I can go. So I'll put in something on there about that, and then we can route you to the various places we are, and where you can hear the music. There's a DennisRussell.bandcamp.com page to hear music. Some of the recordings I've done.
I'll make sure that we include that as well, because I think people would enjoy that. I know I do. I mean, I came to you for you wrote me this beautiful piece for this project that I never was able to get off the ground, but a Great Desolation song.
I still love playing that song. Maybe I'll put it on the set list tomorrow. I get to make the set list tomorrow.
Laura's birthday's coming up next week, so she's making the set list for Sunday's show. So tomorrow's show.
Awesome. Well, I will. When pandemic time, I keep calling it pandemic times. When it started, I was still on my work schedule, so I would be up at sleeping in until 8 was great for me, and now I'm shifted back down to my natural schedule. So I have to kind of prompt myself to wake up early enough to catch the show. But I'm going to do that tomorrow, because I do quite enjoy it, and it's such a nice, it's just great. It's just great to have live music and to enjoy that with other people. So,
yeah. And text me the link to where this will be, Karyn, so I can talk about it tomorrow.
Absolutely. I will keep you in the loop. And I thank you both so much for your time and for sitting down to talk about this.
It's been a
Our
great
pleasure.
great time, Karyn, and great to catch up with you a little bit.
Say hi to Scout for us and your kitty.
Yes.
Oh yes, we
please.
have 3 cats now.
You have 3?
Yes.
Holy mackerel.
It's never good when the number of animals outnumber the number of human beings.
One of them is she's 19. She's very old, so she's very low key. She's still trucking. She's living her best life, but she's pretty low key. She sleeps most of the day. But yeah, the other 2, they're out of control.
That's good.
Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow on the internets.
Bye, Karyn.
Bye, Karyn.
Bye.
She's just knowing that she needs a little change.